Hey everyone, it's Alex here, otherwise known as YaBonks, and on today's episode of the YaBonks Show, I have a very special guest, actually quite a few special guests here from PegHub. So PegHub.com is their project, and I'm here with Aaron, Diamond, Marku, and Rob. Do you guys want to say hi and maybe tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Definitely. So Aaron Shames here. I'm CEO and founder of PegHub. Started off with BTC money as our first big project, and it's evolved a lot since then. We have ambitious goals. We're looking to become the largest crypto staking platform globally by 2025, and our roadmap, lays out exactly how we're going to get there. So, really excited.
Very ambitious.
Awesome.
Cool.
I'll go next.
Right.
So I'm Rob. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for PegHub. So I oversee day-to-day operations and also oversee the execution of our long-term strategy as well. I've got 15 years experience in TradFi. Currently wrapping up as a senior manager in one of the UK's largest banks. And I've got a pretty broad experience spanning program management, HR, product management, and regulatory compliance.
Okay, and for those who don't know, TradFi stands for traditional finance, and like he was saying, big banks, institutions, things like that. Marku, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Marku, the head of marketing for PegHub, and I've got over a decade of experience. I think it's 13 years experience in digital marketing for a Fortune 500 company. So I'm just really excited to be a part of this team, and I can't wait to help execute on Aaron's vision of becoming the world's biggest staking platform in the world by 2025.
Cool. And Diamond,
Awesome.
Do you want to go next?
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Diamond, head of community management. I'm an agile developer with 10 years of experience in customer service and sales in IT, in an IT environment. I'm taking care of the communities, overseeing and managing the chats, live chats as well, and helping out with all kinds of different aspects in the company. Being an agile developer, I can fill in a lot of cracks.
Very cool. Now, Aaron, do you want to give me an elevator pitch for PegHub? And I will pull it up here so people can see what you're talking about while you're talking about it. So this is PegHub.
Sure.
Do you want to explain to people what this is?
Sure. In a nutshell, PegHub is the gateway to all of our really unique farms that we have through all of our underlying protocols that operate underneath the PegHub. So, we started with tombforks and we've improved upon them since we first launched our first protocol. And we've realized that tombforks are a little bit complicated for certain investors to get into. So PegHub is here to give you access to all those great farms in a much easier to use, easier to understand way, basically.
Okay. So if I understand a little bit, this is kind of like a staking platform for multiple underlying protocols. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
And just to go on about like what's unique about our farms, because let's take your typical crypto investor. If they are bullish on, say, Bitcoin, typically to farm that, they would need to either single stake it and get very low yield through maybe a centralized exchange, or there's certain decentralized options there. But typically it's a single digit annual yield. Or the other option is you pair it with something else and you do liquidity farming, but you're not typically pairing Bitcoin with a Bitcoin peg like we offer. You're pairing Bitcoin with like a stable coin or maybe the native coin on that particular network. So you're not getting 100% asset exposure to the asset that you want the exposure to. So there's trade-offs with both of those methods of trying to earn with your Bitcoin. Well, with us, since we operate Seigniorage Protocols, all of our tokens are paired with a token that follows the price of the base asset. So in the Bitcoin example, we have BTCB paired with BitBTC. So you can earn the high yield and still maintain that 100% asset exposure to the asset that you wanted exposure to. And that applies to all of our different assets that we offer.
Okay.
And you can see that we have 6 blue chip cryptos there already available. And in about 5 days, we're going to have 3 more through a new protocol we're launching.
Nice. So this, like this one, for instance, I'll pick a random one, just like
Sure.
as a new person looking at this. And I've looked at this a little bit before, but for somebody who hasn't seen this yet, let's just say I think, BNB dipped a lot today after the whole Jackson Hole meeting and all the stuff going on. We're down like to 270 and we were at 300 just like a day ago. So say I want to start accumulating BNB at these ranges, would I be able to do so using this asset pool? What?
100%.
Yeah. Okay. So what's this BNB paired with here?
So this is one of our Seigniorage protocols is called CZPegs, and it's primary. Well, I shouldn't say it's primary. It's got 4 different pegs, but one of the pegs is BNB itself. So we have CZBNB, which is our asset. We pair it with BNB. The way, for those that understand tombforks and how those pairs work, the CZBNB follows the price of BNB, because unless there's trades that happen against that pair, when BNB goes up 10%, well, the whole LP goes up 10% because the paired asset, it has no choice but to follow the price. That's just how liquidity pools work, right? So essentially, you're getting that 100% asset exposure to BNB by jumping into that farm.
So, okay, that's pretty interesting. So a lot of people talk about things like impermanent loss in terms of liquidity pairs or liquidity pools. And if you're paired with like your peg token here, the CZBNB, and you're paired with BNB itself, then if BNB moves and that's pegged to it, you get almost no impermanent loss. Obviously, if it's off peg a little bit, you'll get some, but like for the most part, they'll move together. Whereas if it was paired with a stable coin, then the stable coin part wouldn't move. The other part would move. So it would like move the pair slower, up or down, right? So this way, if you're very bullish on like BNB, you could take a position in one of these LPs, like CZBNB/BNB, then you could stake it and earn additional yield on top of that from the staking pools here. Like this one says it's 8% monthly right now. Did I explain that correctly?
Pretty close. I think the whole purpose of PegHub though is to take away a lot of the complexity. So a lot of the aspects that you just explained is really not necessary knowledge to get into PegHub. So just to like maybe summarize what you just said, if you want to scroll down a little bit just to the BNB one.
Yeah.
So if you, for example, are bullish on BNB, which a lot of us are, you would just simply, drag that slider over and just put how much BNB you want to deposit. And this zaps you right in. There's not a multi-step process, kind of like you were mentioning. Like this would, automatically take care of making the pair, depositing it, like making the LP, depositing it in the auto compounding vault. Everything's done automatically for you. So once you deposit, you're just good to go. You're earning.
Okay. And is there a deposit or withdrawal fee on your pools here?
Great question. No deposit fee. The withdrawal fee that we have is a very minimal fee. It's just to prevent people gaming the automatic compounds. So somebody, for example, deposits right before a compound, pulls out right after a compound. Those 0.1% withdrawal fee is just to kind of counter that. It's very standard across anything that auto compounds.
Now, it sounds like there's a time period involved with the compounding process or the rewards being distributed. Is there a time period there where that stuff's distributed then?
So we're strong believers in using battle tested code. So the code that we're using for all of this is from BeefyFinance. So we are auto compounding. We're auto compounding every 2 hours. Nothing manual needs to be done, right? Like if you are in this and the compound happens, your position just grows. It's as simple as that. So you'll just see like your deposited amount will just continuously be going up. So every compound, you're compounding now on a larger amount than what you were originally compounding on. That's the whole, wonder of compounding.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned BeefyFinance, because I think a lot of people are familiar with BeefyFinance vaults or staking pools and how they operate. So that's where I recognize this kind of like interface. So that's good to know you're using, like you said, battle tested code that's already been kind of vetted. Have you made any alterations to that specific part of the staking pool logic? Is there any custom stuff that anybody should be wary about?
No, the actual smart contracts themselves are exact same. obviously when we deploy them, we have to deploy them with their own variables, so they have the right routes to grab the assets when they're recompounding and all that. But I mean, that's just standard stuff that Beefy would do when they launch our vaults as well. Which
very good. So this isn't some unknown, untested code. These are tested staking pools, and so people can hopefully rest assured. And I always encourage everybody to go verify for yourself. Try to look through the code. Try to do a diff on the smart contracts if you can, and see if there's any with staking pools. I'm saying this as a educational segue real quick. Look for honeypots, right? Look for any way people can try to keep you in where you can't get out, and then they can pull the value out like that. There's nothing like that in these staking pools, I'm assuming, right, Aaron?
Of course not. Yeah. And okay. I'd welcome everybody to check. Awesome. I know some projects don't like to verify their contracts. I have no idea why, but I will verify every single contract the second that it's deployed. So I welcome people to check them.
Good to know. And as you mentioned earlier, you are the BOMB money guy. And for people who don't know, that was the first tombfork. Is that right? At least the first popular one that I heard of.
It was the very first tombfork. Tomb Finance was flying over on Phantom. It's kind of how the early days of me in DeFi. I discovered Tomb, and I thought the yields were too high to be believable, or it's a shit coin that the coin was going to trend towards zero. But I did my research on it, and I said, hey, this is insane. I love this, right? And I made a killing on it, right? I did great. So I said, one day after work, I was working somewhere at the time. Obviously, I'm not doing that anymore. But, one day after work on a Friday, I said, you know what? Why has nobody forked Tomb? I just couldn't figure it out. And I said, is it that complicated? What's the reason? And I said, you know what? I'm going to do that this weekend. And BOMB money was born.
That's awesome. What a weekend project that changed the course of your life and many others, right?
Well, but a weekend of work for me is, for many others, that would be, a lot more than a weekend. I'm very efficient, and I also like working 30 hours straight when I need to, and things like that. So
that's one thing I can actually relate really well to, and much to the chagrin of my wife. She's like, "You've been sitting there for 30 hours. What is wrong with you?" And I'm just like, "I must finish this." Yeah. And I'm a software engineer, so I can totally understand when you're in the zone with the code, you're in that flow state, you don't want to stop. And the dopamine is just like pow, 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 pow every time you get something to the next step. So cool, man. That's awesome. A lot of people in my community were around in the tombfork days early on, and a lot of them were probably part of BOMB money. So that's cool that you are still out here, still launching projects, and are a fully doxed public figure in the space now.
Yeah. I mean, I did my research, obviously I wanted to do everything in my power to make BOMB money a success when I launched it. So, I did my research on Seigniorage Protocols, on algo coins, and, they don't have the best history. Algo coins, a lot of them have had their death spirals. And, one of the things I learned is that, having a strong and big community is key to success. So that's one of the real big things I focused on early on, as well as transparency, right? Like the community has to trust you, trust that you're acting in their best interest. So, I've been extremely transparent, and, my team is as well.
Yeah. And I think that's super important right now. It's a hot topic. Everybody wants doxed devs. They want KYC, and we will get into the nitty gritty of those details here shortly. For those who want to just understand better what PegHub is and how it works, I really want to ask about the PegHub token. So how does this ecosystem, which as far as I know right now from what we've talked about, is just like a staking platform for a few other assets here. What's this PegHub token about?
So this is an idea that I had, one that many have actually said is the best idea I've had to date in DeFi. So what I did is, all of these protocols, they have a developer allocation, and then they have protocol allocations. So, in my, whenever a token's under Peg, I'm always looking for any way I can possibly improve Peg and, improve the situation for my investors. So PegHub was one of those ideas. I said, listen, I'm going to give up all of my developer rewards, and those are all going to instead go to buying back PegHub tokens through a revenue share basically. So actually, let me start a little bit earlier. Basically, I decided let's launch a PegHub token with a very limited supply. We took inspiration from BeefyFinance and from Yearn Finance, limited supply tokens with buybacks. And I said, all of my developer allocations, instead of going to me, they're going to be used to buy PegHub on the open market and be used to distribute to rewards to people who have staked PegHub. So, because we have a lot of different tokens, a lot of different protocols, this is just the simple one token you can buy that if anything that we do is generating revenue, we're getting automatic buybacks on the PegHub token. So it's really unique. Yeah.
So, and if I understand this correctly, you have 4 protocols that make up this ecosystem currently that are all feeding their revenue into PegHub to do automated buybacks of the PHUB token, which has the ultra limited supply of 10,000, max supply of 10,000 tokens, and all this revenue is going back to buy those up. And what do you do once you buy them up? Is there like a burning process, or do you do something else with them?
Okay, so firstly, of the 10,000 tokens, 3,500 of them were vested over 12 months. So really, we only started with 6,500 circulating supply. Already, some of the vesting has been able to be released. So, yeah, actually, the PegHub white paper is great. What we do is we buy the PegHub tokens on the open market, and we created a reward contract, basically very similar to Beefy. Actually, we're using Beefy's code for that. So the same way that you would deposit a Beefy token and your Beefy would grow over time, you deposit your PegHub tokens in our auto compounding PegHub vault, and the amount of PegHub that you have every day goes up, right? So when we do a buyback, we are feeding that PegHub directly to the reward contract. So we don't want to burn. We only have 10,000 tokens, right? So we don't want to be doing any burns.
Right.
But recently we had a governance vote because the situation was we're trying to figure out how do we get big liquidity on PegHub. So at first we said we'll have an incentivized farm for PegHub, and we pair PegHub with BTCB because of our origins with BOMB and a lot of our investors being BTC maxis or really liking BTC. So PegHub is paired with Bitcoin. So we recently had a governance vote to say, hey, how about we take some of that buyback money and we use 45% of it to add liquidity on the pair, and then the other 55% will remain as buybacks for rewards for stakers. And we'll do that until we get up to, I think it was 5% of the market cap in liquidity, I believe we said.
Yeah, we've set ourselves a long-term goal of 10%.
We'll reevaluate.
Once we get to the 5%, we'll reevaluate. Yeah.
Yeah, because we don't want, for one, like a token like this, the main draw to it is not really the APR. It's more so that the value of each individual token should very likely go much higher than it is right now, right? Just because of the limited supply, because of all the buybacks. So being in that pair, you're going to suffer crazy and permanent loss. So we don't want our users to be farming that pair, and all of a sudden, they started with 100 PegHub and now they're down to 10 because the price 10x or whatever. I mean, that math's not perfect, but you know what I mean, right? So we don't want our users to have to provide liquidity. I don't want our team or myself to have to tie up all kinds of Bitcoin in liquidity. So we decided it's best to have, this is where we have the protocol owned liquidity actually is, we're building it up now. Every single buyback is adding to that protocol owned liquidity.
Awesome. So when I was looking at the staking platform,
if you just go launch app.
There we go. So this is the PegHub pool.
Yeah.
And so you were saying you do not offer a liquidity pair farm for it because the impermanent loss would take away from one of the major benefits to participants in PegHub. Did I get that right?
Close. So we actually, the first thing that we did is we did create an incentivized farm. The thing is, keep in mind, PegHub is our specialized, the PegHub app is meant for ease of use. So that's why we have all the blue chip cryptos there. That's why we have the PegHub token there. But some of our more advanced farms are on our other vaults page. They're not on the PegHub app. So that's where you would find the PHUB BTC B pair. I mean, if you want to pull that up, it's just vaults.peghub.com.
Okay, and I think I did see that.
Or
Somewhere.
we don't link to it directly from here for just because we don't want to confuse people. But if you go to Swap, we have a link from Swap, or you can just type vaults up. Yeah, vaults.PegHub.
Okay.
There it is.
So
a lot of these vaults are also on the PegHub app, but there's also ones here that don't exist over there. So that stuff's not loading, I guess, because your wallet's not connected, but you can still see all the important stuff.
let me refresh so I can connect again.
Are you on the right network?
Oh, it's opening up over here. I got it. There we go. Yeah, it made a mess. Was opening up behind the window that I had full screen.
You know what? That was happening to me yesterday. I don't know. Like that never happens, but yesterday it just kept happening to me. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know. So it looks.
It should work now.
Let me refresh then. And it's.
There we go.
So this is vaults.peghub.com, and you've got 2.2 million TVL right now. And this is the PHUB Maxi Pool. Now, is this the single stake?
That's the exact same thing you were just looking at on the PegHub app. Just a slightly different interface to it, but the money goes to the same place, or the tokens.
And then you have down here PHUB BTCB LP fund.
That's the one I was talking about. Yep.
Okay, so this one has a slightly higher APY than the single stake. And that's because the single stake is probably...
It's not meant for the high APY. It's more so meant that, like, you will accumulate additional tokens over time. The APY is actually typically a lot higher than that. I guess we've had minimal buybacks in the last day. It updates like every day. So it is typically higher than that. But the real reason to own PHUB is because we strongly feel it's, 10,000 is going to be a bargain when some of these revenue streams kick in. I mean, like, yeah, the buybacks will get it there alone.
Cool. So you have a lot more LP farms here than on the other page. Is there any specific reason for that? Why these ones aren't on the main page?
Yeah, so like the share farms, that's something it's not a stake in a blue chip crypto. It's something that's a bit more advanced. So our Seigniorage Protocols, if you want to use our auto compounders, we'll link you to this page, the vaults page. PegHub visitors, we want to be able to target the widest audience possible, which is the newer user, I guess. So we don't have some of those more intricate or complex or risky options there.
Right. So this is more user-friendly, somebody kind of newer to the scene. And then I also see, speaking of that, you have a purchase crypto with, I see Visa and MasterCard up here. So are you saying people can buy fiat or buy crypto with fiat through your website?
Oh, you can click it. It's just a little pop-up. We're using Transact right now. We'll look into maybe getting some other partnerships where the fees aren't quite as bad. But yeah, you can buy fiat or you can use fiat to buy whatever you need. Yep.
Cool. Very nice, man. You don't see that on every project.
Yeah, actually, if you scroll up, see that daily buybacks there? Like, that's actually the lowest I've seen it. So there's probably it's probably just about to do a buyback because it waits till it gets to a certain amount just to save gas. It doesn't do it with like really small amounts. So that daily buyback usually is in the $300 to $2,000 range. So that's why the APY is as low as it is right now. Just bad timing.
Yeah. Okay. And when did you start PegHub?
I think the token launched a little over 2 months ago, and that would be right around when we would have launched the website.
Okay. And so 2 months. How's it been going, do you think, with everything going on? We're in a bear market. That's a rough time to launch a new protocol, in a bear market. So with all that being said, how do you guys think you're doing?
I think it's been going exceptionally well. The PegHub token, well, actually, first, let's talk about the PegHub token and how it came about, like in terms of the initial distribution. So I'm a big believer in making our existing investors whole. I don't want anybody to lose money, right? BTC money spent a lot of time under Peg. And so I've done numerous things to try to rectify that or to make investors whole that would have bought BTC and they're maybe a little bit underwater in their investment. So So we had a pre-sale, I guess you would call it, for PegHub token, where we said you could either use 0.01 BTC to buy a PegHub, so 1% of a Bitcoin, or you could use 100 BOMB, which is basically BOMB at perfectly at 1.0 peg, although the peg was only at 0.5 at the time. So PegHub was already a good deal, even if you're buying it in BTC. But if you're buying it with BOMB, you're getting credit at 1.0 peg, and we gave people a 10% bonus for using BOMB. So 100 BOMB actually got you 1.1 PegHub tokens. It's one of the many things I've done over the, since I launched BOMB, to give people as many ways as possible to be whole on their investment if, we were in an under peg situation.
Interesting. Okay, so that's it. So a lot of tomb forks that have existed for a while, some of them lose steam, and a lot of them hover under peg for a long time, right? And then you have all those people kind of bag holding for a while, waiting for it to come back, waiting for new things. So this way you're giving them another option to take those positions that they had in BOMB while it was under peg and use that to give them leverage in a new protocol that supports each other, right?
Yep.
So it basically says, you're basically saying if you're in one of these other tomb forks and they're under peg, then you're not stuck there. You can actually leverage those tokens to participate in this new protocol.
Not quite. I mean,
at a discount.
We didn't do this to help other protocols, really. As much as I have no problem with helping other protocols if we can, but this was to help our BOMB investors. So the only inputs on the pre-sale was BTCB or BOMB.
Okay,
oh, wait,
I see.
I think, did we have B bonds? No, I don't think we had bonds.
No.
Okay.
Cool.
But anybody that was a long-term holder of BOMB that was, not happy about the peg, we gave them a great way to utilize their BOMB to get into this amazing new token, and it's they're doing very well, whoever participated in that.
Now, are these other protocols are these like sister protocols of yours, or is BOMB the only one related to PegHub in terms of you and what your team has launched?
These are all our protocols. PegHub itself is basically what we're looking at right now, or the PegHub app, I guess, would be the protocol itself. In terms of Seigniorage Protocols, we have bitBOMB, which is the evolution of the original BOMB money.
Okay.
We have CZPegs, which is also on BNB chain, which just has different peg choices from bitBOMB.
Okay.
BTC Stake is an innovative project that we launched to allow investors from BTC mainnet to participate in our farms. So we set up a whole system where people could create an account. They don't need to be comfortable with DeFi, Web3, anything like that. They create an account. They say they want to stake, half a Bitcoin or whatever they want to stake. It just tells them, hey, send your Bitcoin here. We have all the automation in place so that once we receive that Bitcoin, it initiates that stake position, and they get the benefits of our farms without even having to know what DeFi is.
So that's pretty wild. So that's on the Bitcoin network, actually.
Yep.
So I could send some of my Bitcoin from my Bitcoin wallet to BTC Stakes protocol to its wallet, and it would automatically farm with it, generate yield, and then how is that distributed back to me? How do I withdraw from it?
So we have a 6-month period where to be able to take full advantage of all the rewards we offer, you have to stake a minimum of 6 months. But we do offer early withdrawals. So, you can withdraw anytime, but we would recommend that most people that are depositing would stay for at least 6 months and then withdraw, or let it keep compounding.
Interesting.
But
and just to clarify, the 6 month is only for the BTC mainnet staking. None of the other protocols have any lock period or at all for any rewards.
Okay.
And a lot of that's just because of, it is a bit of a pain to have to move funds between BTC mainnet and BSC and everything. And it's, we're looking for longer term investors. So it's, it made a lot of sense to have that separate aspect of everything that we're doing, to have that 6-month period to be able to retain 100% of your rewards.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Mark, you said, nothing else that we do has anything like that, in terms of any kind of have to hold for this long, or or penalized if you leave early or anything like that. So that's strictly for that.
And do you have any other protocols that will be joining this overall ecosystem?
Glad you asked. So we're very ambitious at PegHub. And, now that I've, put together this team, which I really feel is the dream team, the guys I got with me here and, along with a couple other that couldn't join, or, we're launching 4 more Seigniorage protocols between now and the end of the year.
Oh, wow.
4 more on 4 different networks. So the first one is on Avalanche called SnowPegs. Site's already up. It's
I think you may have sent that to me. Let me see. Here it is. SnowPegs. And
there it is.
Okay,
Yep.
so this is launching when?
On the 30th. Genesis is launched on the 30th. We're doing this a little bit different than, or should we go into details about SnowPegs, or?
If you would give me just a quick rundown of it, I know we want to keep this focused to PegHub, but I know this is launching soon, and I know that a lot of people in my audience and community love tombforks, so some of them love playing the Genesis pools to get the initial tokens to play with. So yeah, do you want to give me a quick rundown of what SnowPegs is?
Yeah. So I'll speak to your audience that's familiar with tombforks then. So I won't go into details that are probably well known.
Yeah, yeah.
So the difference is, so basically we're launching on the 30th of August at 2 p.m. UTC, as it says right there in that big red banner there. The difference between your typical tombforks is we actually are requiring our participants to own a BTC Evolution NFT. Those are on the Ethereum mainnet network. So, they're 0.025 ETH. You have to have one on ETH mainnet in order to be able to enter the farms. So those Genesis farms are starting at 2 p.m. on August 30th, like I said. What we're doing different as well, in the past, we would start our share farms after the Genesis farms end. This time we're starting the share farms a lot earlier. So we're only waiting 4 hours after so Genesis is going to run for 24 hours, but 4 hours into Genesis, we're going to start the share farms. So people are going to have something immediately to do with those PEG tokens they're earning. They could start earning the share tokens.
Okay.
Not immediately, 4 hours later, right? And then our boardrooms are going to start having their first epochs after Genesis ends. Actually, if you click on boardroom up there, actually you might have, I don't know if you have to be connected. No, you don't. Okay, cool. So this shows you when, the boardrooms are going to roll over for their first epoch.
I see. And is there going to be a point where you guys add liquidity to these tokens to make trading live for them after the Genesis period?
Well, I've already added initial liquidity. That's how they currently have a peg, because there already is a pair. But I mean, the whole purpose of the share farms is that it's user provided liquidity, right? Like we don't have any team tokens. The only tokens that were minted outside of the Genesis was just enough to seed those initial liquidity pools, which was very, very small amounts. Like, for example, I think the AVAX was 20 Snow AVAX that we paired with 20 AVAX, right? Like really minimal amounts, and there's no team tokens. So
okay. Interesting. So that will be a fun Genesis to watch how that plays out. So if anybody's interested in that, this one is called, here, let me zoom out so you can see here, snowpegs.com. And that one's launching. The Genesis farms begin on August 30th at 2 p.m. UTC. They will last for 24 hours on the PEG token, and 4 hours into that, I believe, then they will have a Genesis farm on the share token as well. Is that right?
I wouldn't use the word Genesis. We have our share farms are starting at 6 p.m. UTC the same day.
Okay.
Another difference from your typical tombfork maybe is that our emissions run for 2 years, not for 1 year.
Oh, interesting.
So, and that's true for CZPegs, bitBOMB, and SnowPegs, and our future Seigniorage protocols. So I mean, this is really these are all great farms to just say, hey, I like exposure to this token. I'm going to jump in, whether you jump in through PegHub, through the actual Seigniorage protocol itself, into the manual farms, or through our more advanced vaults page, which you can see at the top there, although we didn't add any vaults for SnowPegs yet, but that will bring you to that same page you were just looking at not too long ago.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Yeah, that's exciting stuff. So you've got SnowPegs coming in a few days, and then you have, you said 3 other protocols in the pipeline, is that right?
Yep.
Very.
And we'll do governance votes on which chains we'll launch.
I'd say in the pipeline this year.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, wow. So, okay, Q4 this year, we got 3 others coming too.
Let's just talk about PegHub buybacks for a second. We've done over $75,000 worth of PHUB buybacks already, and the majority of that's coming from share tokens. And we haven't had that active ever for a launch of a Seigniorage protocol when the share tokens are really flying. Like CZPegs had a $20,000, $25,000 share token for quite a while, right? But PHUB token didn't exist back then. So this is the first real launch while we have PegHub token automation of buybacks. So if we've done 75,000 worth of buybacks, with the current share prices where they're at right now, having the buybacks that we're going to be doing are going to be unbelievable once SnowPegs launches. And we have 3 more coming after that as well.
Now, I just out of curiosity. So here's
It's gonna be wild.
It is going to be wild, man. That's I love tombforks, and new tombforks are exciting, especially if they're done well by trusted people, right? Like I know tombforks have gotten a bad rep lately, at least in the circles I run in, because people tried to launch like rug after rug with them and try to change things slightly here and there. So finding like a good tombfork that you can trust right from the get-go, and you won't get honeypotted in the Genesis pools and all that kind of stuff. And that's exciting. In my circles, people are like, when's the next tombfork coming out? We need to start a tombfork, blah, blah, blah. Well, so more toys to play with. And this is high risk stuff, by the way, guys. It's DeFi, right? DeFi is high risk. Tombforks have volatility like anything else and all that. So if you guys have never participated in tombforks, like do some learning, go watch some videos. My buddy Dow King has some great educational videos. Lame Hillbilly has really educational videos on tombforks and Seigniorage protocols and how they work and stuff. So make sure you have a good understanding of that as best you can before you just like go blindly hopping in like a Genesis pool and start trying to trade during that time of volatility. And
I'd say for anybody new, just to really try to protect yourself, it's the share token that you want to be careful with, because if you know what you're doing with the share token, you can make a lot of money. But if you don't, you have the potential to take a lot of losses, because those share tokens are very volatile up front. For example, look at the daily farm percent on that, 4,300% per day. So if you play this right, you can make a ton of money. But because the share farms are going to be starting, they're going to start hitting the market. So the share price is going to come down, right? So it's something where you have to be a little bit like aware of what's going on, but there's definitely like huge potential to make money if you are familiar with the mechanics and, are, educated on this kind of thing.
And that's the thing. Like if you look at the share token for basically any tombfork, it'll be like way high in price, and then it just like quickly will come down back to earth, and then trade along a general trend line. And because of emission rates and inflation and stuff, like you might see like a downward slope over a long period of time, unless they add revenue building utilities and things like that to extend the runway of the inflation. Now what you guys have done here is created basically a whole ecosystem of projects that will then feed into each other, and especially this PHUB token that we see right here. And you guys have only been going with PHUB for, you said 2 months, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so just out of curiosity, there's
maybe a bit longer.
So there's like a 2,000 or a 10,000 max supply, and
a bunch of those are still locked up. So I'd say there's about 7,200 circulating maybe.
Okay. And all the revenue from those protocols, and these are like long-standing protocols where the volume's kind of like normalized a bit, calmed down for those tombforks, and now you're launching 4 more where the volume's going to be probably pretty high. So that's going to probably generate a fair amount of revenue that will go back into the buybacks of PHUB token here.
Let's see exactly how many tokens we've bought back. You want to head to token.peghub.com. There we have the exact figure of how many tokens we bought back.
Sure.
This is kind of we're kind of deprecating this site, but it's still live. 244. And the average price has been higher than 233. We actually had an unfortunate event in the community. I don't know if we want to talk about that real briefly, but the reason why the price is low is we had a big PHUB holder ended up getting scammed and gave up his seed phrase, and 300 PegHub tokens hit the market. So, yeah, so those buybacks, a lot of them happen in the 500 range, 400 range. Like, I didn't do the exact math, but we've probably done $100,000 worth of buybacks.
Yeah, and I just did the math at the price it is now, and I see what you're talking about. Was that right around here?
Yeah, but again, the vast majority of buybacks were not at $200. Like this, if you look at the history, the average price is probably closer to $400 or $500, right?
Yeah, and even at the price it's at now, the amount of buybacks that I calculated here was like 58,000, and if most of the buybacks are happening up here in the $400 to $600 range, then yeah, probably like over. That's probably 6 figures worth of buybacks on the PHUB token already with just these 3 protocols here. And then you have SnowPegs coming out and 3 others.
And just to get into a bit more details about the buybacks. So we have the share tokens that we use for buybacks. So we have automation in place that, obviously we don't want to dagger the charts, or we don't want to hurt our existing investors. So we're very careful about what we do with those developer allocated share tokens to make sure that we sell them in very small amounts, numerous times a day, which the automation checks a lot of factors before it will sell a share token. And it doesn't need to be a whole unit. It does random amounts at random times, so nobody can game the system.
I was going to ask that. That was one of my next questions how are the buybacks done? Do people front run them? Can bots figure out when it's going to happen?
So you like programming, so I'll mention real quick how it works. Off chain, we have we generate a random number. I think the script runs every 7 or 8 minutes. I forget exactly what it is, but generates a random number. I think, the vast majority of the time that number falls out of the range where it needs to be for it to actually perform sell a share token. So the vast majority of the time it does nothing. When it does get in that sweet spot range of the random number where it's going to actually sell a share token, that number determines how much it will sell based on the max that we have set. So something like SnowPegs, it's probably going to launch with a $15,000, $20,000 share token. I'll probably set the max to like 10% of a share token, right? Because I don't want it to sell any more than that in one transaction. So that's the absolute most it would sell if it got that exact perfect number in the random number generator. But it's probably going to sell less when it runs, right? And that runs pretty often. So,
and that's something a lot of people might ask, like, how does your protocol generate revenue? How does it make money? And for the most part, tombforks, the team sells some of the team or the treasury sells some of the share tokens to generate the revenue for the treasury. Is that right? Yeah.
So what we're doing is we're currently paying our team in PegHub tokens, right? So the health of all the protocols is beneficial to everybody on the team, and it's that way. It's no strain on any of the Seigniorage protocols. PegHub is like this. Ever since launching BTC Money, it's been like this thing where it's like a struggle where you can't sell the peg token because you don't want to hurt the peg, right? And it's it's been such a refreshing change, with PegHub, that we have all these automatic buybacks happening that, if someone on the team needs to sell the PegHub token, as much as we all really strongly believe it's going to 10 or 100,000 or beyond, if you need to sell it because you got expenses, that's okay. It's going to get bought back automatically anyways, right? So it's the safest token to sell.
And then my question about the PegHub buybacks is, I'm guessing that process is automated 100%. Similarly to your share token strategy for like SnowPegs and your other tombforks.
Yep. We have numerous smart contracts that work in tandem. There's one smart contract that whenever it receives BTCB, if it accumulates a balance over 1% of a Bitcoin, it kicks in the automation. So we just have numerous places that just ship BTCB there, and we have automation that runs that is checking every single block. Is try to run this function, and that first thing that function checks is, do we have 1% of a Bitcoin? Okay, not enough Bitcoin. Better send, basically wait until there's enough there to execute the process.
Nice. That's a good way to do it, I think.
We haven't done it yet. Yeah, we haven't done it yet cross-chain, but we're going to be doing it with Avalanche, and all we'll do is we'll just wait until there's enough to be worth bridging, and we'll just bridge it and set the destination address to that exact same contract I was just talking about, right? So BTCB will be received there, and when it's received, it will be more than 1% of a Bitcoin because we're not going to bridge over less than that. So the automation will kick in when that happens.
What other chains are you looking to launch on? If you don't mind my asking, can I ask that one?
100%. Well, the biggest answer is it's the community's choice.
Okay.
Every big decision we make, PHUB holders vote. I mean, you want to go to the vote?
Yeah.
Wait, isn't vote in the top menu? No, I thought it was. Well, it's vote.peghub.com. I'm not sure where that link went.
Okay.
If you just type vote there instead of forum. And excuse my typo I made in one of these votes, but so if you go down to the second one there, vote on the next chain. So that's a vote where I actually thought Polygon was going to win this one, but the PHUB token holder spoke and we're on Avalanche. So, we'll do a vote for the next one as well.
Cool. I like Avalanche. I am trading in a tombfork on Avalanche currently, and so I'm all for that. This whale here obviously must be an Avalanche maxi. They must have a lot of AVAX sitting around.
Yeah.
So cool. This is fascinating. I haven't seen a project like PegHub before, and I am really getting into tombforks lately and learning the strategies for how to trade the share tokens when the peg's down. You can start accumulating things, and then on the next run up you can make a nice profit if you know what you're doing. Obviously, there's always risk. Not financial advice. Anybody listening, you never know what's going to happen with these. You gotta evaluate the community sentiment, the strength and trustworthiness of the team, if they are still passionate about their own projects, and if they're still building out things to support it. Like, this is cool. This shows that, you had a lot going on the past year, 3 different protocols, and you're still building. So you've now launched PegHub to tie everything together, really boost this whole ecosystem, and then, people can come over and
I wanted to give a big differentiator between, our strategy in terms of maintaining and holding peg versus maybe what a lot of the other tombforks are doing. I've always been a big believer, Tomb was very successful before, the whole Luna thing, and obviously like all algo coins kind of took a hit at that point. But
yeah, people hear stable coin or pegged coin or algorithmically stable coin or whatever, pegged stable coin, they freak out.
If you had algo in the description of your project, you were in trouble, basically.
Yeah.
but anyways, so Tomb was doing great. But you know what, with Tomb, you could be in their boardroom or cemetery as they call it, or what, I don't know, the masonry, I forget. But anyways, you could be in their boardroom and you could always just sell your rewards because there was no problem. There was always new investors coming into the farms, and that's what people want from a tombfork. They don't want a tombfork where, you cannot sell your rewards. And I feel like a lot of the tombforks are going the way of do anything you want, just never sell the peg token. Right.
Right.
That what that's doing is kicking the can down the road. People are going to accumulate a ton of peg tokens. And as soon as one event happens, you're going to get massive and massive, massive dumps.
Yes. So, and I am experiencing that currently in some projects I'm in.
So our approach with PegHub is we strongly believe in the value of our farms, the blue chip cryptos, the 100% asset exposure, the high returns. We said, we just need to get this in front of more eyes. We're working on a V2 and we have a V3 and V4 plan for the PegHub app to keep making it that much better and better and easier to use and more like traditional finance in the ease of use sense, right? So we want to drive more investors into our great farms. So the people that want to play the Seigniorage protocols, they can sell their peg tokens because we're going to be well over peg, right? That's the proper solution, as opposed to begging your user base to never sell a token, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what the share token is, the reward token. That's how you're supposed to take profits, theoretically in a Seigniorage protocol, and it's
But
so
I feel Tomb hit 2 billion TVL. They didn't hit 2 billion TVL because people were not allowed to sell Tomb, right? So I think that, as long as you can have, as long as you have a good offering and you can drive new investors in, which is very difficult in these market conditions, but, if you can drive investors into your farms, which we have a lot of short, medium, and long-term plans to accomplish that, you should be able to sell your reward tokens. I feel that way. Why is it a reward token if you can't sell it? It's just something you put on your wall then, or I don't know, right?
Yeah, and that's why buying and speculating on the price of a share token so risky? Because people are basically minting them for free, or getting the emissions of that share token for free by farming it, and so they're accumulating this stuff, and then their plan is to sell it, right? So it's like all these people are farming it to sell it to get profit. So if you're like, I'm gonna buy the share token and hope it goes up, but then it just keeps going down, well, you gotta really know what you're doing if you're going to swing things that way.
Yeah.
So educational blurb there. Be careful if you're swing trading share tokens. Some people can make a fortune off of it. Other people get wrecked.
Without inside information about, well, for one, nobody knows what's going to be happening with any token price, right? So swing trading on a share token is, good luck. I wouldn't suggest anybody to do that, really.
Yeah.
It's, even we know what our roadmap is. We know when things are coming out, and like, even still, we wouldn't even do that. So for somebody blindly to do it is just kind of crazy, but
yeah. And I feel personally attacked by that statement. So
hey, we're all DGen members.
I have no idea, dude. I have like no idea what I'm doing half the time. I'm just like clicking things like, I hope I get rich. And then the next day I'm like, what am I going to tell my wife? Like, oh, God. What have I done? So learn from my mistakes. All right. Now, speaking of this is a great segue into my next question. What do you think is the best strategy for retail traders like myself to use in your project in PegHub?
So I feel like I'm stealing the show here. I want some of my colleagues to talk a little bit. So
sure.
I can take this.
You guys want to answer? Please go ahead.
I can take this, and it's going to be pretty simple. Actually, what we're seeing is what would be the perfect answer. I think that our blue chip farms on PegHub.com are exactly what you would need to keep that risk lower, because we have chosen these to be cryptos that a lot of people want to accumulate. So we have Bitcoin, we have BNB, we have BUSD for people that aren't very risk averse, or don't believe too much in the current markets. We have an option for that. BUSD, ADA, Atom, DOT, and on our upcoming SnowPegs, we're also going to be adding AVAX, Sol, Solana, and Link, Chainlink. So these are options that a lot of people want to accumulate naturally. You don't have to play the advanced game, if you want, of these Seigniorage Protocols. Park your funds in these autovaults and just accumulate. This is actually a fantastic time in a bear market to accumulate. Once that bull run hits, we're going to be laughing.
So what's the benefit of like for me, I want to DCA, dollar cost average, my positions into these blue chips like Bitcoin, BNB, and things like that. What's the benefit of DCAing into one of these pools here over me just DCAing into Bitcoin?
Yeah, well, basically, the main advantage here is that, like we were explaining a bit earlier, the underlying pool under these pools are paired. The tokens are paired with a pegged asset to that original peg. So we have, in this instance, BTCB. It is paired with bitBTC, which is pegged to BTC. That's a lot of BTCs in one sentence, but basically that means that there's very minimal impermanent loss, because if BTC raises in price and nobody sells or buys, bitBTC will raise the exact same amount. That's just how it works. So when the price raises or lowers, same thing happens with the total pool value. So you can pretty much DCA the same way you would naturally with a single asset, but here you're able to gain yield on it.
Yeah, I'd say, just to add to that, like, the biggest advantage is that you're growing your bags. So if I have 10 Bitcoin in my wallet, or if I deposit 10 Bitcoin here, I'm going to grow that 10 Bitcoin here, where in my wallet, it's not going to change in size. Right.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that was maybe passed over is that for your average retail investor, if you just believe in the team and what we're doing, you really can't go wrong just grabbing the PHUB token and throwing it in that PHUB vault and just set it and forget it and come back in a year when it's 50 grand. Not financial advice, but that's conservative.
Interesting. Very interesting. So I might write that down. See, I love doing
well,
these AMAs because like I'd never heard of PegHub before, right? I'd heard of BOMB money because you were obviously one of the first big tomb forks, like the first tomb fork apparently. I did not know that until I met you.
Not
and-
apparently.
Yeah.
Not apparently. We
Yeah.
were the first tomb fork, and for a month there was no others. So it's black and white.
So that's super cool, and like I'm glad that you guys kind of wound up on my YouTube channel's doorstep and said, "Hey, have you heard of PegHub?" And I'm like, "No, let's talk about it." And like this is a very interesting idea, and I love doing this because I get to basically learn about all this like new stuff like as soon as it's like happening. It's a great position to be in. Now, you were about to say something, Rob.
Yeah, no, I was just going to highlight, I think, exactly what we've covered, that, PHUB is just, a really simple way that you can sit back and benefit from your revenue that's only going to increase through the new protocols.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you'd have to actually get into all of the new protocols when they launch, like to take advantage fully of like those high value share prices and everything. But you can get all those advantages just by holding PHUB, because all those high value share tokens are going to be feeding buybacks on PHUB.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no user activity required. You just benefit from everything the team does.
Now, how do I say this? I guess so. I kind of want to ask like what the potential risks are here, but before we do that, I got another question, Rob. What did you just say again? Maybe it'll trigger my memory. I had a really good follow-up question.
Yeah, so just about PHUB, the fact it benefits from automated buybacks, the fact that as we launch new protocols, that'll increase the buybacks.
Okay, light bulb. My brain is working once again. I remembered. And so what are you planning on letting other teams' projects come into the PegHub ecosystem here and provide their own pools and farms for PegHub participants to farm in? And is there any way that you can like make partnerships where some of their revenue goes to supporting PegHub and then, they get liquidity or something from your pools? Like, is that something that's possible?
That's really interesting. Not something that we've thought about, but because of the automated buyback system that we've created, there's definitely the potential that other protocols would want to do something similar. So, I mean, that's something that we could white label for them, let them have their brand on it, and we could take, maybe a very small cut of the, automated buybacks that they're doing, just for us offering that service. And, as we grow out the team, like you've heard our, ambitious long-term goal. We are going to keep growing. The team's going to keep getting bigger, and we're going to branch out every direction that we need to, as long as obviously we have the resources to do everything, the very best way possible. We're going to, we'll explore every ways that we can generate additional revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There's also, I don't know if we want to talk about this, Aaron, but we also do have in the works a TradFi on BNB that we could actually eventually enlist other protocols to use, so they could other people could use our TradFi to essentially single stake different assets.
I think that's very worth talking about, but I think we've already got so much.
I know.
I think we'll save that. I really love YaBonks here, so I think we're going to be doing a lot of videos together. So we'll save that for a future one.
Yep.
Well, thanks, guys. I love these brainstorming sessions too, because it's like, man, that'd be awesome. Like, if you can somehow work the phrase "pegging as a service" into your offerings, I would fully support that. Okay.
I totally already got the domain.
So wait, can we just hire you to come on the team?
I know. I have learned that YouTubing and being on a team does not mix well, right? When I actually first got started out here, I was a volunteer moderator in a project, and I'm like, oh, I'll just record the AMAs and throw them up on my YouTube channel. And then that project died, and then everybody's like, oh my god, it was your fault, or like the team ghosted basically, and I'm like the doxed person in front now, and I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is my first DeFi project, guys. And then they're all like giving me death threats and saying I'm a scammer and stuff, and I'm like, oh no. So I'm like, I have a rule now. I clear separation between team and YouTube right? So it's like I'm either all YouTube or maybe I do stuff as like a software engineer or something on a team. Right now I'm doing all YouTube because that crossover gets ugly because I'm like the public face guy, and when people need a punching bag and teams, even if price goes down, right? Price goes down, hate messages go up. Even if I just make a video on something, but if I'm like associated with the team in any way, then it's just like they're coming for me. So I have to limit my risk there. But I appreciate that offer. I will absolutely enjoy our conversations though, and I love brainstorming and facilitating. So like I'm in touch with tons of project owners, players in the space, other YouTubers, and if I see like an interesting potential, I like to just put people together and say, hey, you guys should talk about this, and then I just like walk away and like I just like to facilitate because we're in literally like ground zero of the most innovative, fastest growing space, I think, in the world right now. Like we're at the beginning of this like S curve that's like unlike any other S curve, I think, except for like maybe the .com boom. So anyway,
Agreed.
that's my long spiel about that.
Well, I'll just add something to that. Like, people, I don't think this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. This is like a once in a all of mankind opportunity. Like, honestly, like look at BOMB money. What I did in a short period of time had $40 million locked 2 weeks later. Whenever in human history could that kind of wealth just show up out of nowhere in 2 weeks, right? Like it's insane.
It's the greatest time to be alive. I mean, that's life-changing. That's like legacy level, like wealth generation and like a weekend's worth of work, right? Of just like, you just had a clever idea and the gumption to just like execute. Do it. Yeah.
I say this to the team, but like I just love working with this team and just the project that we're on. And the fact that, as Aaron mentioned, we're compensated in PHUB tokens. I mean, I feel like I'm working in Microsoft in the 80s, getting Microsoft shares here. Like that's the level of excitement we've all got on this project.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's can't put it any better than that. Yep.
And I love the position I'm in because like I get to be this kind of impartial observer and like almost like a reporter where I'm just like talking to all these players in the space doing these like magical things with technology that's never existed before, and opportunities like that nobody even thought of are just like popping up every week. It's something like, oh, nobody thought about this before. And look at, oh, it's millions of dollars right there. Boom. Right. Like it's just so cool.
It's fascinating.
So, I have some other questions I want to get into because I like this conversation could go on all night. I want to go grab like a tea and we could sit here and like pontificate about the philosophical implications of blockchain technology and everything and DeFi, which I love to do. And I have podcasts weekly. We do this. I might ask you to be a guest on there, either one of you guys, because you guys obviously are very
I'd love to.
articulate and have some great ideas on this stuff. But my audience is sitting here like, hey, YaBonks, Alex, how do we make money? And what is our risk exposure here? So I think we covered what the value proposition is for PegHub. I think we've gotten to that, and now I want to cover some of the risks because protecting your capital at all costs is very important out here. It's DeFi, super high risk. I call it the DeFi casino, and I think of all of these like games in a casino, right? Like here's a fancy new slot machine, here's a poker table, blah blah blah, and but there's risks involved with all of these things. So first off, let's see, who else is on the team that isn't here? And first off, like what countries are you guys all from? I know that seems like a weird question, but like people talk about tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 countries, and like if you guys are in like Timbuktu and like you could just fade into the background and nobody can do anything about it, it kind of worries people. So any other team members, and where are you guys all from?
So 3 of us are in Canada. Rob's in the UK.
Okay.
I'm I'm around Toronto. I'm just like in a city right outside of Toronto, Waterloo.
Yeah.
I'm from Canada as well, in Quebec City.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and I'm from Scotland in the UK, and as I mentioned at the beginning, I've got a a long-standing career in financial services, and I'm stepping away from that very, very soon to come on board to the team full time with PegHub. That's how much belief and confidence I have in our vision.
And that's something I'm seeing more and more is people leaving traditional finance roles to come into DeFi, the land of opportunity, as I call it, the gold rush of our lifetimes, and more, like Aaron was saying.
Yeah.
And we just lost Marku. He's gone. Where did he go?
I'm not sure.
Maybe he lost his connection or had to run, but
oh, there he is. He joined back, I think. Let me add him back in here. There he is.
I just wanted to add to what we were just talking about, though. It's having Rob that's been in, traditional finance for 15 years. I feel like this is such a huge gap in DeFi. Is like traditional finance, everybody hates it, but they do a lot of things right. They have a lot of money to do A/B testing, to do, to perfect and polish all of their offerings, right? And everybody's in traditional finance, and there's a lot of competition there. They do so much so right, and I think a lot of people in DeFi forget about that. So to have Rob come in as our COO with that kind of experience is game changing. Like, we've already noticed like incredible improvements, and he's not even on full time yet, right? So I think 3 weeks away we are now. Like, it's going to be incredible when he's on full time. Marku with his experience in digital marketing for Fortune 500 for 10 years, 13 years, I think he said. Like, how can you beat that, right? Like, Diamond managing the community and, being a programmer himself and being able to fill the gaps. Like, and, this is just, part of our core team. We have a lot more team members as well. But, I mean, how could you not be bullish with this team? Right?
No, that's a good thing. I mean, Rob, did you want to say something too?
Well, yeah, I was just going to kind of build on what Aaron had mentioned about lessons we can take from TradFi. I mean, we'll maybe get into this, but if you have a look at PegHub.com/roadmap, I think you were scrolling through that earlier, Alex.
Yeah.
But we've actually published alongside that a really comprehensive strategy, because often we see protocols that have, what looks like a really great roadmap, but there's very little to, actually outline, well, how are they going to achieve that? So we didn't want that to be the case. So the strategy really outlines, everything from our strategic objectives, the risks that, we're cognizant of and actively managing, how we're going to break into new segments, our approach to determining the segments that we want to expand into, and a big focus, in that is around how do we build something that's just so simple and so seamless that users with no experience, in DeFi or even crypto, can get started with us. So we know we've got a lot of work to do, but that is very much our focus, tapping into those markets that aren't, don't even know about DeFi at this stage.
Yeah, and look at you bringing in terms like SWOT analysis. I feel like I'm in college again with my business classes. Like,
this is what we need to grow to a multi-billion-dollar corporation. We need these kind of things built out, and that's what we were missing before, right? Like, I mean, look at this thorough document right here, right? Like, how many DeFi projects have something like this?
Not many. I could tell you that. Like, there are a few that I've interviewed or done reviews on that are more legitimate organizations with structures and things like that, but they're few and far between, and a lot of them end up on my channel because, as you know, Aaron, I have a very stringent vetting process before I allow projects to get onto my channel. Now, it's not perfect, but like, most people won't jump through my hoops because they don't want to dox themselves to me. They don't want to video chat with me and show their face. If you won't show your face to me, like, I'm going to be real questionable if I'm going to talk about your project on my channel, right? So like, and then the next step, like, if you're like that confident in what you're doing and stuff, and you have that much accountability, like, you're probably going to run this like an actual business, right?
Like, look at this document is just incredible. Like, how in depth it goes. Like, if you just scroll down a little more, like, we just outline everything, right? That, we'll have continued updates to this, right? So this is, I think this is the July edition or August edition.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
so I mean, this is our long-term strategy, but we'll begin issuing regular progress reports, and we went through a really robust prioritization process for the items within our roadmap, but equally we'll continue to evaluate those, and there may be adjustments that we make along the way. So yeah, this will definitely be a kind of living, breathing document.
Yeah, this is very involved, right? Yeah, like you guys didn't just fork like Olympus DAO's white paper and call it a day. Like I've seen so many times stuff like that, or it's just like, dude, I've seen people fork everything, marketing jargon, documentation, front ends, where like you go and you check the HTML code and the comments still say the old project's name in it, like.
Oh, hey, speaking of that. BOMB money got forked so many times and people didn't change the Google Analytics code. Do you know how much crap was coming through my Google Analytics from all these forks?
Wow.
Oh, that's hilarious, man. That makes me want to
BOMB
just
money
like
being the first. It's and then Tomb made their code private because they weren't happy about all the forks. So I mean, we forked Tomb as the first one. So once Tomb went private, we're the go-to to fork, right? So.
yeah, that makes sense. Man, this is fancy. Like, this is fancy, you guys. Like, this is a fancy document. I'm not gonna lie. Like, you put time and money into this. You could tell, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah,
that's a good sign. And
I mean,
go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry, I think I've got a slight lag. I feel like I keep saying at the moment it's the Wi-Fi in Scotland's clearly rubbish. Yeah, like I was just going to say, I mean, this is an approach that, I've leveraged working in product management functions where, we're managing billions upon billions of pounds. So yeah, I mean, this is completely bespoke, built from the ground up in terms of the strategy. And yeah, we're really proud of it. So hopefully some of your viewers will enjoy reading it. And if you've got any feedback, please do just let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. And just so people know while we're on that topic, where can they find you guys? Where can they reach you?
So Telegram, Discord, Twitter are the top three, I'd say.
Okay. And I'm in Discord. So like, if you guys are in Discord and you need me to send you like invites to their Discord servers, just send me a DM. As my audience knows, my DMs are always open. I respond to everybody. So I'll put the links in the description here too, if they want to check this stuff out. But this is great. And I think a lot of other projects, I think they should be modeling stuff like this. Like you're doing, SWOT analysis, right? And like, this is what I used to do back in, I have a minor in entrepreneurship, and like this was something that you do when you're doing any new business. You want to know your strengths, your weaknesses, like what your threats and opportunities are. And that's I even kind of do my AMAs in that fashion. What we still have to cover here before we wrap things up is I want to talk about the threats and the risks, so that way people know like what are the risk vectors getting into your project and all that. But I think we've really covered the strengths, potential weaknesses, like the bear market, if you have long exposure to some of these things, like maybe timing's important, and then like your opportunities, like you got 3 more or 4 more protocols launching. Man, this is great. This is great stuff. I wish we could see more of this. I bet you this is going to get forked. I bet you someone's going to fork this document.
Hey, it's okay. It's flattering.
Yeah.
And
we'll have a revision too when they do that anyway. So.
And this is where you guys are. This is what's happening in real time. You guys are witnessing the market positioning of the degens and DeFi natives in real time on my channel as we're talking. I'm having an existential crisis as we speak right now. I'm like reading about what's happening as it's happening.
For sure, yeah. I mean, totally, and that's the thing, right? So at the moment, a lot of what we're doing with the Seigniorage Protocols, it is very much catering to the DeFi natives, the degens, and that will always be a core part of our proposition. I mean, God, that's me. But our long-term focus is very much, as I said earlier, delivering really simple experiences so that we can help people, not currently in the space come in and, you know, build wealth.
This is great, man. Like, this is fantastic. Like, this is literally some of the questions I'm about to ask you. I just like scrolled to it and I'm like, oh, there's the answer.
We need to make this more prominent on our website, I think. This document is absolutely insane.
Yeah, great job. Rob, was this you?
Well, look, it's a collective effort, but you know, one of my first priorities and since joining the team was shaping the strategy. So yeah, it's come out well.
Great job.
We had a lot of team sessions. Like we had team sessions where we discussed all these things and we, you know, came together into conclusions about priorities and, you know, a lot of the different content that's here. But Rob definitely put the document together and
yeah, the level of professionalism is very apparent here. You could tell you guys come from like corporate backgrounds. Like I come from the corporate world. I've been a software engineer in like a white collar office environment for the last like 10 or 15 years now. So this is like the stuff that I'm used to seeing when doing business with large multi-million-dollar companies. And out here in DeFi, it's like the wild, wild west, right? Like I've seen people make fortunes on like the shadiest looking thing you've ever seen. You wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. You're just like, oh, and so the guy's like, I just made $100,000 overnight on this. And I'm just like, what? Like, dude, I have a guy, one of my really good friends out here. I talk with him all the time. He started back when you guys did BOMB money, probably around the same time. It was like last fall. He started with like 20 grand. He's made like almost 10 million bucks off of it in DeFi. 10 million bucks in like 8-9 months off like 10, like where else could you do that?
Yep.
Crazy
space.
Yeah.
So before I paint all the unicorns, go ahead. What's that?
I was just going to add on how you were saying this is like a corporate thing. And so, I know Rob and I are used to the corporate world, but the one crazy thing, and we talk about this all the time, is that like, you know, in the corporate world, you get a job or a task and you're like, okay, what's the timeline? Oh, you know, maybe 12 to 16 months will turn that around.
Right.
And here's 12 to 16 hours and otherwise it's late, you know?
Absolutely. And as a software engineer, I'm on teams where like we would be like, that's like a realistic time frame. Like it's going to take us at least 12 months to revamp this like web app or something like that and do it right. And we'll do like week sprint, like 2-week sprints or something like that. And like with agile development and still it would take like 12 months to do something. But like Aaron over here is like, oh no, I forked 2 in a weekend and boom, $40 million 2 weeks later. That's crazy, right? I love it. It's like, it's total cowboy shit, but like, that's like the enchantment of DeFi, right? It's that possibility. So,
and like, you know, I feel like our team, like we have a great combination of skills, right? Like, I feel like I have ideas all the time. Like if you ask these guys in our Teams chat on Microsoft Teams, like 4 a.m, hey guys, check out these 3 ideas. Just like, you know, like just, and a lot of them are really good. Right. And, you know, I'm just always coming up with ideas. I love like actually building them, testing them, right. Getting a working model. And, but you know, like a lot of the areas where I have weaknesses, I've now hired in those areas. Right. And it's made us a really complete unit.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's excellent. And delegation's important out here. I've seen some, really strong developers who don't know how to delegate and their projects have suffered because of it. They try to do everything themselves for too long and it outgrows them and they can't give up the reins even a little bit. So that's good that you found people that you can trust to help you and do things in a efficient, professional manner like this. So
well, they do it better than I do. I mean, look at this document. I couldn't have made this, right? So it's like, I want to hire people that are stronger than me, right? In these areas. So
yeah, I want to hire the guy who did this. Like, like
he's ours.
I need stuff like this for my business, right? Like I'm trying to delegate for my YouTube channel, and it's hard, man. It's hard to find people you could trust to do what needs to be done and do it better than you, right?
Yep.
So okay, let's run through the risk vectors as quick as possible. I got some security questions here. So we talked about what the team and where you're all located. How is the team compensated in this? You touched on it earlier, but do you want to run through how the team is compensated?
Sure. So right now we're compensating the team in PegHub tokens. Because we're going through such drastic changes now in terms of, you know, a lot of hiring, a lot of new protocols. We've done like a temporary contract for Q3 of this year. So we're going to be reevaluating at the end of Q3. So it'll maybe stay PHUB tokens, maybe a combination of tokens, but we've always said right from day one with the original BOMB money, if you work for us and you put effort in, you're getting paid. Strong believers in that, right? So
absolutely.
So yeah, everybody's getting paid right now in PHUB tokens, but that could change. I also like to give various bonuses out here and there just randomly when I see somebody's doing good work and stuff. So,
Cool. Yeah, and that's something not many people like to talk about, but developers and teams need to get compensated for their work. I know there's some weird perceptions in DeFi where they think teams shouldn't get paid, these projects should all just be like charity and everybody should be altruist, but like you're just gonna end up with like scammer after rug pull after scammer after rug pull, because the people are gonna want to get paid for the time they put into this stuff, right? So like,
yep.
I am all for teams getting compensated for their work. Same with me and my fellow YouTubers as well. Like, this is a lot of work on our ends that we do, and people also be like, oh, you guys shouldn't get paid for doing stuff like this. It's like, well, this stuff takes me tens, 20, 30, 40 hours sometimes to do everything involved. And for you guys, like, this is more than a full-time job. So it's good that you guys are transparent about how you're getting paid, because otherwise, if people are wondering about it, they might think that you're skimming off the top or you're planning a rug pull. And that's what other developers do, because they feel like they can't operate out here like in a traditional business sense, where it's like you get paid for your labor, right? And your efforts and your risk and all this stuff. So I appreciate you guys being transparent about that. I know that's often a awkward question, but I think it's a hot topic of debate right now, and it's good to bring this conversation to the front and to know that you guys, like, you get that's how you guys get compensated. So PHUB tokens, good to know. Okay.
Yep.
So next question, are you a registered company, and if so, where?
So BOMB Money Incorporated is an Ontario, Canada corporation. As we grow, we're already... Actually, Rob, you want to handle the rest of this one?
Yeah, sure. So you'll actually see risk number 2 in the document that Alex has got up there is around increasing regulation and highlighting that, while some regulation is positive, clearly there's risk that, excessive regulation in some countries could hamper ability to innovate. So we're currently exploring options for the most optimal place to incorporate. So we're in the early stages of conversations with a couple of firms on that. Yeah, I'm sure we'll have more to share on that in the not too distant future, to make sure that we continue to protect ourselves and our investors.
Absolutely.
So that's, looking into the future, saying, hey, regulations, likely to, get stricter. So we want to protect our investors. So we're already taking steps today before we face that problem. That's how much we, are looking out for our investors.
Very cool. Yeah. So that's good to know. So is everyone on the team doxed or KYC'd?
So I've done 1 or 2 official KYCs, for sure. One, I forget if I did a second one, but I've been doxed right from day one. My LinkedIn and everything's all public knowledge. So I'll let the other guys speak.
Yeah, so here I am. I'm doxed. I've not been KYC'd, but I'm very, very comfortable to do that, and we'll can have conversations about that, Aaron. Once I'm fully on the team, but yeah, very much out in the open and doxed.
Okay.
Yeah, and just to clarify, like internally, like we all do work. Everybody knows who each other are, but as I said, I'm still working for companies, so just to avoid any conflict there, I'm currently undoxed, but that's likely going to change in the next couple of weeks. So I'm just working how that's going to work out. But yeah, I'll be joining the. You'll get to see my pretty face pretty soon.
And I actually saw it earlier. So for my audience, the whole team here privately doxed to me already. We had a video chat earlier. We were talking. They don't have like devil horns that I saw grown out of their heads. They seem like normal dudes.
Mark, you did have a PegHub hat on though.
Oh,
we got to mention that.
He did
Yeah,
have a PegHub hat. I need to get me one of them. So
Yeah.
that would be no. I need a PegHub coffee mug because I am a coffee addict. Yeah. Awesome.
Give us your address. We'll get you a bunch of stuff.
Heck yeah! And if you could hook up my community with something,
A discount code or something, or
yeah, anything. So how about whatever you end up giving me for like swag stuff? If you can give the same to a member of my community, I'll set up a giveaway contest, and then that way, like, yeah, I can rep your swag, but then I can say one of you guys who's watching this can rep the same exact swag. You know what I mean?
Okay. What about like $100 gift card? Give you a couple of those to give away.
Dude, that'd be awesome. That'd be super cool. My audience would love that. I can already tell when I post this, people in my Discord server are gonna be like, oh my god, they love swag. I don't know why, but swag giveaways were way more popular than any like token giveaway. Like I've given away just straight tokens, like money. I'm like, you can sell this right away if you want. And it's just cash money in your wallet, right? But when I did a swag giveaway, it was like twice as big as any token giveaway I've ever done. I don't know why people love t-shirts and stuff, but
Hey, listen, like when I first got my BOMB money hoodie, like that's all I was wearing for weeks, right? Like I just people love this stuff. I mean, I had more than one, guys. I wasn't wearing the same one every day, but
thanks for clarifying.
and dude,
I got a whole closet full of them.
Another project sent me this mug, and I won't show the name of it just out of respect for you guys, but they sent me this mug. I drink out of it like on every single video just because like it's my favorite coffee mug. I can't help it. I'm gonna drink out of it, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's super cool. I look forward to that. We can set that up later, and I'll do a big giveaway contest, and people get excited about that.
Awesome.
So, do you have audits on your smart contracts, and if so, with whom?
Okay, so we have had the vast majority of our smart contracts audited. I don't know off the top of my head all the different firms, to be honest.
Yeah.
Let's talk about which ones haven't been audited.
Looking it up right now.
Okay, so the PegHub token itself hasn't been audited because we really want to get the CertiK audit on that, and
okay,
it's such straightforward code that we're just talking back and forth with them just about the price, but that will be audited soon. CZPegs audited by Soken, I believe the name.
Yeah.
BOMB money was audited. bitBOMB is basically the same code base as CZPegs. I'm not sure if we audited that yet though. SnowPegs not audited yet, but they're all the same.
Not officially.
But
okay. And so with that being said, how long have like those protocols been operating, and have they had any exploits or any issues that people might? So basically, I think a track record is the best gauge of how safe a smart contract is. If you've forked known good code, then and you just modify slightly some things and make your little changes, and it hasn't been exploited, that's the best thing. So how long have they been running for?
So BOMB money was running since mid to late November,
okay,
and with no issues whatsoever. And TVL hit over 40 million on that one. Our vaults have all been forked from beefyfinance, which is again extremely battle tested code. Those have been running probably a month into BOMB money launch, and I'd say we launched those, so probably mid-December.
Okay.
Zero issues there. But there's one. I don't know if I'd call it an exploit, but if there was one thing I was going to mention to answer your question as a negative, because I don't want to leave anything out.
Yeah.
There was one thing. So in the original BOMB money protocol, we had it set up so we had something called XBOMB, which you could deposit BOMB like single stake to get XBOMB. And at one point we had it so that rewards out of the boardroom would go, a percentage of them would go to XBOMB holders, right? So your XBOMB would become worth more BOMB. So someone figured out a way. I mean, well, it's not that complicated actually. They just basically took a flash loan and they would, buy BOMB, throw BOMB into the XBOMB. They would call the rollover function on the boardroom because we were doing the automation differently back then. So there was actually a couple blocks of time when they could do it before us. And in that same transaction, they could then pull out of the XBOMB, but with more BOMB afterwards. So that's and we had a 7-day time lock, unfortunately, on those contracts, so we couldn't fix that right away.
I see.
So that's the worst thing that's happened.
Okay. And then
it was actually the time lock that prevented us from fixing that right away. But,
yeah, and that's the thing. Like people say, you know, best practices, you got multi-sigs, time locks on these contracts. But if something like that happens, that's actually one of the cons to those practices, because you can't adapt as agilely as you could if you just had complete control and you can just take control, fix it on the fly. But you had to wait 7 days. But
Funny
I'm
story.
assuming you fixed that, right?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Cool.
Funny story though is early on in the BOMB money days, I said, "Hey, why is my camera looks so dark? I wonder if the light's coming in on a weird angle or something." But
yeah,
early in the BOMB money days, I asked people, "Do you guys want me to transfer stuff to time locks? Do you want to do multi-sigs?" They said, "No. We have so much faith in you. We want you to have full control if changes need to be made." This was the overwhelming consensus in the community.
And I've seen that before in other projects where the community trusts the developers so much that they would rather them have complete control over the ship of how it's being steered, right?
That was the exact case. Yep.
Yeah, because there are nefarious actors out here who are trying to exploit every little thing to get just a couple dollars even out of anything they can. So being adaptable is good, but at the same time, like, you need to have that level of trust to be in that position at all, right? Yeah. So good to know.
To go back to the original question, though, about audits, BOMB money, which was our original protocol. We have evolved a bit, but essentially it's a lot of the same code. But it was audited by STAYSAFU, RUGDOC, and GORDAIN. Sorry. So we did have 3 audits done on BOMB. And like Aaron was saying, we're in talks right now with CertiK to have PegHub audited.
Yeah, cool. And you know, we've committed as part of our strategy to continue to invest in high quality audits. So, you know, we're definitely committed to continuing just to give investors more and more confidence, you know, when they're investing in our protocols.
Awesome. Cool.
I was trying to fix my light problem, but didn't seem to help too much.
No cigar.
That's all right. All right. So speaking of all that, are you using multi-sigs and time locks on any of your projects, contracts or wallets?
So we do have a Gnosis safe, which is multi-sig. It, you know, requires 2 out of, you know, however many to get anything done. We have time locks on certain contracts, but as I mentioned, like when we were talking prior to the recording, you know, we definitely need to go through every single contract and just to make sure that everything is, you know, the ones that need to be time locked, so that if, you know, for example, if governance votes to change something, you know, it can't be changed right away. People have time to leave if they don't like that change, right? So I'm a strong believer in time locks in those places, just so that, you know, people do have that opportunity to leave if they don't agree with something that's happening. So yeah. We do have multi-sigs. We do have time locks. We need to double check that everything is owned by the right contracts. The important ones are, but we need to make sure we have 100% coverage there.
Okay, cool. And so what was your pre-sale raise? Did you have a pre-sale for PegHub? And if so, how are all those funds used? I know that's a interesting question that not many people ask, but yeah, so did you have a pre-sale and how were those funds used?
So PegHub token, again, keep in mind that the whole premise of PegHub is that all the developer rewards that were going to me now go to the PegHub token. So I think it was 2,500 of them. So a quarter of the PegHub total supply is vested for me over 12 months. So that's where, you know, 25% of them are. 1,000 of them are vested over 12 months for marketing team purposes, stuff like that. The other 6,500, we had, it was kind of a pre-sale, basically, where you could either buy a PegHub token for 1% of a BTC, 0.01 BTC, or because BOMB was under Peg, and one of the big reasons for launching PegHub was to improve the health of the protocols, to help improve the health of BOMB money. So I said, hey, we'll let you use BOMB money to get PegHub as if it was at 1.0 Peg, and we'll give you a 10% bonus on top of that. So almost the entire I don't think anybody bought with BTCB. Everybody bought with BOMB, and, you know, we're not going to dump our own tokens, so we didn't do anything with it, right? So it was just a way to, you know, prop up the peg of BOMB, and in return, I gave away all my income. But again, I'm the biggest holder of PHUB, so a lot of that goes back to me still. But yeah,
Okay.
I sacrificed my revenue from every protocol to create the PHUB token.
Yeah, and that's
what's
also
fun about this is it brings a nice dynamic that anyone that does buy some PHUB, sorry, they are sharing the revenue that the dev is getting. So they know that Aaron's goals are aligned with them. We are working to make sure that everyone. Well, Aaron probably wants PegHub to succeed, so that's a good reason.
I could probably explain this best.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm going in circles here.
Well, but no, it's a great point that you brought up, though. It's like anybody that owns any PegHub, they are directly aligned with my, what I want to accomplish, right? Like I'm getting all of my income from the success of PegHub because I gave up all of my revenue sources to feed buybacks. So if you want your interest, if you want to have your interest directly aligned with mine, own PegHub, right? I'm going to do everything in my power to feed as much revenue as possible to that token.
Yeah, and so, I think that's a perfectly viable and mutually incentivizing compensation structure for taking the risk, putting up the capital, and doing all this. Because if this succeeds, you succeed, and then other people who are part of it as well succeed. So I am totally okay with almost like, and this is not. This is an analogy, right? Like equitable shares, right? Like it's like a startup company. You have equity in it, and all these other people can buy into it too, and then share in the revenue and success of the business itself. Obviously, if you are listening, SEC, this is not security that I'm talking about. I'm making an analogy here, but that's kind of what these tokens are like. It sounds like So, all right. So good to know. I am actually a proponent for this kind of compensation structure, as long as like the team has that level of trust where it's not just like a pump and dump, sell, boom, and then they're gone, right? Like, but you guys have so much skin in the game.
It's pretty clear that that's not the case here.
Yeah. I don't think that. Yeah. So, all right. Next, that now we talked about this question a little bit earlier, but this is kind of a hot topic, buzzword type thing. Is your liquidity locked?
Okay, so yeah, let's discuss. So
Tomb
forks. The way that when tomb forks launch, generally you have Genesis farms. We don't pre-mint any tokens for the team. All the tokens are distributed to people that participate in Genesis farms. So that's how we do our initial distribution. We don't get any initial tokens, so we don't create any initial liquidity beyond what is needed to create that first pair, just so that we can have, we can show the price of the token. For example, on SnowPegs that's just about to launch, our AVAX peg, which is called Snow AVAX, we pre-minted 20, right? So that's like nothing, right? So essentially the liquidity is all owned by our user base. And that's why we incentivize the farm so heavily, because our users are the ones that provide all the liquidity and own all the liquidity. So the answer is no, we don't have liquidity locked because we don't own it. We don't own any liquidity.
And that's an interesting concept about Seigniorage protocols and tomb forks as we know them right now in general, is that generally most of the liquidity is owned by the retail traders like me, who I am, farming those liquidity tokens to generate that yield, those share tokens or whatever it is in the particular tomb fork. So yeah, that's an interesting question for Seigniorage protocols. Is your liquidity locked? Blah blah blah. For rebasing tokens, it's a hot topic right now. But for tomb forks, it's like it's apples to oranges because we own the liquidity and we make our money off that liquidity, essentially. So
same goes for the share token. SnowPegs only pre-minted one just to seed that initial liquidity pool, right?
Yeah.
I forget exactly how many, 60,000, 54,000 that are going to be emitted over 2 years. It's going to go to people in the farms or people in the auto vault. It's going to be used to increase their position, of course, but yeah, I mean, everybody it's a fair playing field. We have no advantage as being on the team, right?
Right. And as long as those contracts are like the known contracts that are used, like you can't just yank that liquidity out of these staking contracts, like the beefy contracts.
Yeah, we have no ability.
You can't pull those as far as I know. So that's another reason why I use battle tested code, like you're saying, beefy, because it protects you against stuff like that. That liquidity and that smart contract is under your control. So double check everything we're saying, you guys. Verify the contracts, do a diff on them, double check,
Yep.
and all that. Do your due diligence. I'm an advocate for that. So,
and again, every
yeah.
contract is verified, so you won't find a single one of our contracts where the code is hidden. So
that's awesome, dude.
Do your due diligence. Yeah,
I appreciate that. I love reading through contracts and seeing what's going on the inside. So when I see an unverified contract, like I get nervous a little bit, and I'm just like,
yeah, like why?
I would have to have a high degree of trust for the team, and like really know them before I would get into an unverified contract. That's just like some bytecode that I can't decompile in any meaningful sense,
Hey, listen, the way I look at it is if some of these billion-dollar protocols, like if a balancer V2, for example, the complexity of that protocol, and they are open sourcing their code, like nobody in a small DeFi project has something so proprietary that they have to protect it and they can't show their code to the public, right? Like there's no excuse really for not verifying your contracts.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
And I can argue either side of it because I'm a software engineer and I'm like, oh, well, proprietary, that's how, I might make my money if I write some code and I compile it and I don't want somebody to like rip it off. But at the same time out here, we're all about transparency, and it's just like, so that it's like a double-edged sword, and you got to kind of weigh the benefits and the pros and cons.
Different though from the non-crypto world though, because in the traditional world, you can go to the authorities if somebody wrongs you, right? In the crypto world, code is law. If code is law and you can't show me the code, how am I supposed to invest?
It's a good point. That is a good point. Yeah. So that's a great debate. That would be a fun debate to have on one of my next podcasts that I do with some other YouTubers. I might bring up that topic.
Invite me. I'll argue that point. Invite me.
Okay. That'll be a fun one. Yeah. So with all of that being said, what do you think are the biggest risks for participants in your project?
Actually, Rob, you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. I think where you were kicking off, Aaron, definitely feels right. Clearly, crypto as an asset class is volatile. I'm sure all of your viewers know that, but we shouldn't forget about that, and you need to be comfortable with that side of things. Through the fact that we primarily offer staking on blue chips. Clearly that to some extent limits that risk in that these assets are less volatile than some coins. But yeah, that is certainly something. Sorry, Aaron, yeah, go for it.
I was just going to say that, no matter how battle tested our code is, it's worth mentioning that new exploits could be found anytime. Mm-hmm. So no matter how battle tested something is, no matter how many experts have looked at it, an update in the, the software that the nodes run could potentially introduce a vulnerability, or, there is external risks that are completely outside of our control. Just due to the nature of how everything works. And again, using battle tested code really helps, but there's no way to 100% eliminate the risk, right? So it's worth mentioning, right?
I'm glad you bring that up. People should know this is a brand new space. This is all new technology. It has only been around a couple of years. So as this stuff evolves, exploits can be found in any of this stuff that we might not even be aware of yet. So I want people to understand, this isn't like your FDIC insured bank account, right? And like in the United States, where it's insured up to $100,000. If something happens out here, the smart contract, that your tokens could just be gone, right? And there's no way to get them back. So always be aware. Yeah, exploits can be found later on. And that happens with some big decentralized exchanges that tens of thousands of people use with tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. And an exploit gets found and boom, gone. That money's gone. Right?
The Nomad bridge exploit where 200 million was lost. I think I bridged 100 grand on them 2 days before that happened. Right?
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The conversation. Sorry, Marky.
No, I was just going to add one more risk, and we've kind of covered it, but it's lack of education and researching what you're investing. So if people start getting into those, dogs are pissed. If people start getting into those, share tokens without really understanding what it is, and that's the beauty of PegHub is you don't really need to understand or even go into that. You can just stake the blue chips, but getting into those Seigniorage protocols without doing enough research and understanding what you're getting into, there is risk there.
And with that, could the pegged token to those blue chips trade up like under the value? Could they trade under peg?
Yeah, they can trade under peg, over peg. I mean, I'm very confident in what we're doing moving forward to, get new investors through the ease of use through the PegHub app and through the improvements to the PegHub app and through our longer term vision of operating everything on our own blockchain, similar to like a staking platform like a Celsius, but with 100% transparency, having everything operate on our own public chain. So yeah, there is risk of the pegs, dropping, or even the peg being too high is risky, right? Because if you enter when the peg is high and then the peg, normalizes back down to 1, there's a little bit of impermanent loss there.
I've been there. I have been there.
But if the peg is high at the same time, probably the share token is super high as well, meaning that you're probably earning so much that it can very often counter the impermanent loss. So
yeah. Okay, good educational content right there for anybody listening who's playing around in these tombforks for the first time, because you usually have to learn those lessons and they're very expensive. So
but you know what, when pegs are below 1.0, I mean, if you have faith in the team to bring them back, that's a cheaper entry point to get into that farm, right?
That's often one of my best plays in the past few months, is if I really believe in the team and the community is strong still and they're actually still building stuff. Then if somebody dumps their tokens and there's a huge opening like under peg, I might start accumulating. And then when it goes back up, it's like I've got this huge position at a discount, and then like I can reevaluate at that point, what I'm going to do.
100%.
All right. So can your project survive if this bear market continues for a while longer?
So ever since BTC money, I've always, said, listen, BTC is, probably going to take the least amount of a hit in a bear market, which has proven true. You can build your bags through our protocols regardless of what the market's doing. So, I mean, I think the biggest danger there is sentiment, right? Like, so if everybody is not feeling great about market conditions and they don't want to have exposure to assets, that's the biggest risk, right? But having said that, I think the smarter investors feel that this is the accumulation phase. Like, we all have seen the last 10 years of history or more of what, Bitcoin's done in other cryptos. When it's low, those have been the times to buy, not the times to run, right? So not only is this a good time to buy, it's a good time to just accumulate. You let the yield farming and auto compounding grow your bags, and, you'll be in such great shape for when the bull market comes. It's, never have to work again.
And that is the goal, at least for me.
Cool. I love working, so not my goal, but
yeah, I feel like if I feel like it'd be the same with me. I'd be like, well, time to do DeFi stuff and work on the animal sanctuary, go haul some hay bales around, and
I'll just be working in a yacht at that point. But
there you go. You'll just improve your office environment a little bit.
Yeah, just slightly.
Yeah. So, would your project, and I guess, Rob, this will be a question, I think more for you, would your project still be able to function if any of your team members left the project to do something else?
Yeah, so, one of the things we're doing at the moment is a really comprehensive assessment of where, if we do have any key person dependencies, and we're building out plans to remove those. So, for example, we've just began paging for a smart contract developer, and that's because we recognize that a lot of the the technical knowledge and ability sits with Aaron, so we need to reduce that key person dependency, and we're building out the plans for those.
See, this is something I didn't even think about, right? But that's having someone with Rob's experience come in, now we're setting ourselves up to have less things that can go wrong that would cause us issues.
Yeah, redundancy and continuity plans, insurance plans, and stuff like that, especially in human resources. Not a lot of people in DeFi think about that with their projects. Like, if somebody leaves the team, oftentimes the project's done, right? So it's good that, you guys are thinking about that. Yeah, you guys are thinking about that stuff. And that kind of leads into my next question. Where do you see your project in 1, 2, or 5 years? And what's your long-term vision for this project?
Love this question. Well, we have a lot of it laid out in our roadmap, but short term, so in the next year, we're going to be launching numerous more Seigniorage protocols that are going to be on various different chains that are going to have various different, cryptos that people like exposure to. So we refer to them as blue chips. Just cryptos that people like to hold. They feel they're going to, gain a lot of value over the next couple of years. But our longer term goals are very ambitious. Put simply, we plan to become the largest crypto staking platform by 2025. The way that we're going to accomplish that is by having a unique offering that's not available in the market yet. It's a combination of transparency, which a lot of the staking platforms currently don't have. And on top of that, it's ease of use. It's, a really interesting article I read that I shared with Rob. They mentioned something about Web 2.7. And I like that. What that meant was like a Web 3 world, but drawn back just a little bit towards the world where, if something goes wrong, there's someone you can contact, right? Or like there's a traditional login for those that aren't comfortable with the Web 3 login. Even if all the underlying technology is all Web 3, let's give people that aren't comfortable with having their millions of dollars potentially tied up to the seed phrase that they might lose, right? Let's give them an alternative, right? So we've got all of this, we got to plan out some of the finer details, but we got the major plans lined up.
Yeah, because I think that's a huge gap in the market in our view, right? I mean, having full ownership and operating in a fully decentralized manner is great and what many people want. But actually, there are many people that just don't want that level of personal accountability. So, through having something that is fully transparent and, as Aaron says, you can verify where your assets are, but actually with that sort of consumer grade experience and associated support, we think that's where we'll really differentiate. And going back to my point earlier, do a great job of pulling in, people who aren't fully immersed in the world of crypto at the moment.
Yeah, and that is super ambitious what you guys are saying, like biggest staking platform by 2025. So like is that competitive advantage that you're explaining that you guys have and are developing further going to be what you think propels you past things like BeefyFinance and other popular staking platforms?
I think it's the transparency combined with the ease of use. And that's why I brought up that Web 2.7 thing, right? Like, so it's like giving the traditional experience that everybody's comfortable with, where maybe like, if they don't want to have MetaMask and be, 100% responsible for their assets. And if, somebody gets their seed phrase or they lose their seed phrase or their computer blows up or whatever happens, their millions of dollars are gone. We want to give them an alternative, but still retaining all the advantages of the blockchain and transparency and not having a Celsius situation come up where they lose billions of dollars of customer money. That won't be possible with our situation because everything's transparent. Everything's on the chain, right?
Yeah.
So,
man, yeah.
We're doing it. It's not the plan. It's what's happening.
Well,
but there will still be a place for the degens to use their Web3 knowledge and get more.
Cool.
The best of all worlds.
Yeah. Well, I think this is all super exciting. I'm excited to see where PegHub goes, especially as you launch these next protocols. You have 4 more tomb forks coming down the road in Q4, and that's going to drive a lot of volume to this thing. So, unfortunately, that one guy lost 300 PHUB to a hack. He got his seed phrase taken. So, like, the price is at a dip, it looks like, at the current time. Not financial advice, just pointing this out for people who are looking at this right now. So that's going on, and then all the revenue from all your other protocols are going directly into the automated buybacks of PegHub. Very cool project. It's PegHub.com, and I will put the links in the description below. And thank you guys for staying with me for it's a 2-hour AMA. It's super in depth. We barely even touched on your other projects and protocols. Like, we could go for hours on those alone, and I know we talked for an hour before this too. So Rob, I know you got to go to bed. You're over there in Europe land, and it is probably the middle of the night. So yeah, do you guys have any like closing words? Anything you want to say before we wrap this up?
Mainly just that, like really fun being here with you. Like, obviously our 5-minute call to verify myself went 2 hours because we had a lot to talk about. And,
Yeah.
you're an interesting guy, and, I'd love to
So are
come
you,
back and
man.
talk
Yeah.
more. I'd love to talk more in the future.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, and I just want to say, I deal with a lot of requests for AMAs and things like that as the marketing guy, and seeing the list of questions that you came back with, I could imagine that would just scare a bunch of projects, because you were just like, we need to have a live AMA with your dev. We need to know, all the risks. We need to know. It was like 20 questions. I'm like, wow, this guy really cares about his community. And, I'm actually happy to see that, because we can answer all that. And as you can see, Aaron's here. So I just really respect what you do. And thanks for having us out here.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate that. I do put a lot of time and effort, and I pass on a lot of high-paying opportunities because of that, right? Like, people try to bypass my system by throwing more money at me, and I say, that's not how this works, right? I'd rather make less money, but protect potentially millions of dollars of my audience's money if I can, by just filtering out projects that don't meet my very simple standards that I think are very simple. But obviously, if somebody's out here doing crazy stuff, like, they aren't going to get on video with me, first off. So I appreciate you guys putting like your, just being transparent, coming out here on camera, like you guys, and Marku, like even you, like you video chatted with me privately, and that's one of my conditions, that somebody on the team does, and you guys all did. So that's super cool that you guys did that. You have that level of accountability, and you're like so confident in what you're doing and how you're doing it, that you're willing to answer all my super tough questions that a lot of times, like, sometimes project owners afterwards are like, why'd you ask me that, man? That's awkward. And I'm like, well, it's not so much for me, it's for my audience. I want to protect them as much as I can and show them what the potential risks are in whatever they're throwing money at, right? So
yeah, really respect that, man. Like, just the way that you're, you won't take money. You need to make sure that it's proper for your community and everything, everything's lined up. So really respect that.
I don't think my brand or reputation would last too long if I'm just like feeding them like rug after rug after rug or something like that, right?
Well, we take protecting our community over money every day, right? That's been our principle right from day one, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of different times where we could have, as a protocol, or me myself could have taken funds, but we always do what's in the best interest of the investors, and a lot of them see that, and that's why they've stuck around. So, and you operate in similar manner. So,
and that's awesome, and that gives me hope, because I've been looking for more tombforks to play, and they're the most exciting when they first start. So me and a bunch of my friends out here are probably gonna do some degen shit in your new tombforks.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Look forward to it.
You guys are gonna have some fun.
Yeah. So this is fun. All right, you guys, thank you so much for taking so much time out of your day or night to sit with me and answer all my questions. I'll get this up on YouTube. If anybody has any questions, leave them in the comments below. What do you like about PegHub? What do you not like about it? Let me know. Let's talk about it. Hit me up on Discord. Check them out at peghub.com. I'll put all the links to their socials in the description below. And yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. I will talk with you later. Bye.